Alright guys, welcome back. So it is tier list time. Last month we did a launch tier list which specialized or at least focused on unique characters and not putting a big emphasis on legendaries, because if you looked like a lot of tier lists when they were coming out, right, a lot of them were just all like legendaries all in the top tier. And while that's necessarily true, on the launch day, I want to say, hey, unique characters are actually pretty good. They can take you far. You're still going to use them. I'm still using them towards the day. But now, with the fact that the launch month has happened, we've gotten a bunch of new content in the form of like the Silver Demon, the Knighthood bosses, which has given a bunch of uses towards new characters. We've also gotten a bunch of new characters, a bunch of new events that have now given out quite a lot of legendary characters. And of course, they've released a lot of actual, banners to where everyone's now summoning, everyone's now starting to get legendary. So we're now going to rate them all towards each other, basically. So let's just jump in. Now, I think if anything, the way we're going to go about our tier list is SS being universal plug and play characters. Right? So what does that mean? These characters are like the best of the best. Now, that being said, though, if you look at the S tier, because I know people might talk about it a little bit, but if you look at Gallant and Meliodas, Meliodas is probably, is the best red DPS in the game, and then Gallant is the best blue DPS in the game, unless you count King a little bit, right? But why are they not an SS if they are the best in their class? The reason why is because they are not plug and play universal. You're only really going to use those if they are really high duped out, or if the type advantage. If you look towards the SS tier, all these characters have a lot of use for their team, right? Like Barn, giving you energy. That's super important in this game mode, especially when you're trying to reach the end half of your ultimate rotation. Barn as well, lowering your attack, so he's doing stuff for the team while also being a really good DPS. Escanor, lot AoE damage, that comes in handy more than you actually think. And also as well, where he has type advantage in the ultimate, where if you look towards Melee and also Gallant, they lower cooldowns for themselves. They increase their crit chance, their attack speed. Same for Gallant a little bit. So while I know if you put like a 1-to-1 DPS, Gallant and maybe even Melee Spawn might do better than Barn, but at least in terms of Barn, because I know a lot of people say, yo, Gallant's actually better than Barn, but that's only when it comes to DPS. You got to remember, Barn's also lowering your attack, also giving you a bunch of energy so you can use more ultimates and reach that end half of the ultimate order, which is why I put these on S tier. King, pretty self-explanatory, best buffer in the game. If the best characters are the Sins, naturally going to fit in a little bit. Mon Speed got on a massive use in the game recently. AoE becoming very more useful, especially with all the new tower trial stages. But also as well is they've now reworked bosses a little bit to where bosses now start very weak and then get progressively stronger over the course of the match. So because of that, they have really low critical resistance like early on. And in his actual Black Fire skill, where if he does crit, he's going to restore energy, which has no cooldown, by the way. So he can, and I've seen it as well, he just spams those moves like 3-4 times in a row to where he gets those actual extra energy very early on. Sure, later on he might lose it, but hey, get like 40 to 50 energy at like start of match thanks to him, Golfer, and also Barn. Very, very powerful. But of course, the big thing too is his Hellblaze. Big AoE skill, very, very far in the backline. It reduces recurring resistance, deals damage over time, and crit defense to where, yeah, it is probably one of the better debuff skills in the game. Massive AoE skill, and of course, you can also pair up even more critical resistance and defense lower because the Hellblaze buff or debuff itself is its own thing. Very, very good. Gluxinia is simply the best healer in the game from my experience a little bit. He has obviously one of the higher multipliers for like restore and actual HP, and this is so good, and you'll see why we rate Gelda so low for in terms of a healer is because you don't have to successfully attack someone. So if he's like a low dupe level, he can still be very, very helpful because he doesn't need to successfully attack someone. And because of that, you can definitely lean into more attack, which I haven't even bothered putting on the character yet, but I will be doing that soon. And also grants damage over time immunity if that was something you actually need, and removes debuffs. That's like the most important thing is cleansing, which, there actually aren't that many characters in the game that cleanse. And to be fair, that enough is a reason to put him into a high tier, but it also has this skill right here, which is, level 4 break every 5 seconds, which is like a small AoE. It's not crazy, but it can hit more than one person, and that will lower their critical defense. And if you go towards like another character like Gilthunder, he does level 5. It is a bit more, granted, but this is an ultimate. You can actually sometimes not even need to use your Gluxion ultimate. You can put him towards the end, and he's still doing stuff for the team. And even if he's at the end, if you have like Barn, Gopher, and Mon Speed in the team, you're going to get enough energy to where you can get that heal off anyway. Yeah, such a really, really good character. That's why we put him there. And obviously Gopher, play self-explanatory too. He reduces cooldowns. that in itself is pretty good. Decent damage if you get him deep tower, but of course the big thing is getting an accuracy buff and also the restore energy guaranteed every 5 seconds if he successfully attacks someone, but you should be because you get an accuracy buff and you probably invest a little bit in towards Gopher. So yeah, you can see why these are all the best characters in the game because they're doing stuff for the team where now when we go towards the S tier, these are really good characters, but you know, aren't buffing up the whole team a little bit. So, like we said already, talking about Melee, he's the best red DPS. Do you need him? Not necessarily, because like I said, the big thing with SS is that he can't be replaced. No one can do what Escanor does. No one can do what Barn does. Where Melee, not that you can replace him, but you can do all right with Kayn. And sometimes Kayn can be a bit better in other situations if they're like if it's an AoE match where there's like more than one enemy, because Melee is just single target. Obviously, Melee's actual like what's the word, like skill cap, like skill ceiling is a lot higher because you can get a lot higher to the dupes and more potentials. So of course Melee is better, but generally speaking, if I need a red DPS, I can just use Kayn. I'm kind of fine with it. Galan, once again, very good, best blue in the game. Same situation, Melee just buffs up himself. You know, not that I can bring another character because I just probably the closest towards it, but yeah, Galan's, I think, in S tier. Fire Dian and Draw, pretty self-explanatory. These two characters have the immortality effect, so naturally they are going to be very good when it comes towards most content in the game, since, well, not dying is a pretty powerful ability, you would have thought, right? Then Zaneri, though. So Zaneri's actually pretty good. Very similar, but maybe a little bit worse than Gluxinia because she has got the almost the same ultimate a little bit where you remove your debuff of your allies, which is very good, but the multiplier is like 200% less. However, she does have the benefit of getting the final attack buff from King, so she has got pretty high, you know, attack in general when you actually pair it up, to where that's probably why they made his multiplier a lot lower than, for example, Gluxinia, because they knew she can pair up with King. And yeah, it's not bad. You get the heal every second upon another normal skill, the 50% chance to restore allies, and you also get the healing as well. It's yeah, overall not the worst character, maybe a bit more of a better healer. Was it better healer? I don't know, but very good. I use that every now and again. It's just if you want to get a bit more with Gluxinia into like the crit defense lower, it's you know, you rather go towards him, right? And then Arthur is literally being carried by Bard. Like Arthur, you never really, I mean, no, it's a pretty good ability, and you can see I'm using it right now a little bit, but just getting a 20% crit chance, it's very powerful. Like, that reason alone makes him higher. I mean, this actual ultimate is fine. Lower in defense, not the worst, but there are better things to do. And to be fair, when I do use Arthur, I do put him towards the end of the ultimate rotation because I don't really care about his ability. But damn, that crit chance, critting on Barn is just, yeah, too good sometimes. Kayn, really good DPS still when it comes towards like Tower Trust and AoE content. Being 2 meter radius does more damage towards greens. Also as well, 2 meter radius, but very far back range because he shoots far back. Once again, do more damage towards greens. It's not bad, really like Kayn. And then moving on towards Wilo, or Wilo, I think it's pronounced his name right, is just a free-to-play version of Draw and Dian. It's worse because it's only 6 seconds, but he is also free-to-play, so you don't mind him. Yeah, Gale Frost is insane. The reason why is because he has a lot of like AoE skills. Like this ultimate here does damage in a 4 meter radius. We'll get towards the ability in a second. And in this skill right here, 2 meter radius when he crits as well. You don't really care about that, your attack speed. And then this skill is not too crazy, but he's got good range, good AoE skills. But obviously the best thing is this actual ultimate, which is nullifies damage taken 1 time. If you go, I mean, it's used for a lot of content. But right now, the best use, I think, out of it is in PvP. Because if you think about it, right, the main reason why Escanor is so powerful right now is because he does big AoE damage and hits the backline. And because of that, he can, like, one-shot a King. So the only way to stop your King from getting one-shotted is to put your actual Gale Frost in, because if they do take damage from that one Escanor ability, because bear in mind, when in the backline, the only time they're going to take damage is either when your whole team is dead or massive AoE skills like Escanor that can reach the backline. So yeah, nullifying Escanor's ultimate, who would have thought it's broken? And yeah, if you look like right now, like the best teams, you're seeing like there are a few unique characters, to be fair, and we'll go towards them in a second, but at least in PvP, the only unique you're seeing really in like a lot of teams is Gale Frost, because that nullify is yeah, so powerful. And once again, for a free-to-play unique character, yeah, we love it, right? Doggello, best tank-ish in the game. Once again, when it comes towards tanking, rather than, you know, doing the cheesy immortality stuff, because he does have the Veil buff, which is the best tank buff in the game. Absorbing damage equal to your 25% of your HP, and if you give it like max HP stats, especially like, I mean, we don't have a legendary character though that can do it. Is like is Greenmore, who does it on his special skill, but only lasts a few seconds. So it's actually possible you may not even absorb all your HP because it just runs out because the buff is only 3 seconds long. But yeah, this skill, you become immortal for a few seconds, basically, which is obviously very powerful. And with Golfer, if you're using him, you can recycle out a bit as well. And the damage isn't bad. He does reach the backline, and you see a few times he actually does do a few damage if you're like AoE content a little bit. But the big thing too is that he taunts, which is very powerful when it comes towards PvE content. There are some bosses that I mentioned in my last video that they run for your highest DPS target. So with this skill, he stops it from happening. And there are a few strats that I've noticed in PvP where people put him in like the backline to taunt the enemy, so they run to your backline and then you just kill him. It's a weird gimmick. I don't know how it's actually working. I haven't tried it, but yeah, Doggello, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to be one of the best tanks in the game. The Veil buff is just too strong. And then moving into the A tier, we'll kind of breeze through these ones because they're not that important a little bit. In fact, I'll probably just close down this here. Hauser, it's a good DPS. He just lives in the Shadow of Barn, so there's no reason to use him when you can just use, obviously, you know, Hauser. Zaratros is one of the better greens, probably was the best green DPS in the game, but now obviously Escanor is. But you still got a lot of AoE damage, so you can use him in AoE content. Very, very good in the base defense. Greenmore, maybe I should put him down actually, I don't know. I haven't tested him too much. He's got the break ability, so does he have break? I think he has break, so you can actually use him in the Night bosses. Like I said, he has got the Veil buff, but like I said, it only lasts 3 seconds. And because of that, you're not getting a full use out of it. Sure, you're going to be immortal for them 3 seconds, or you're not going to take any damage unless they're buff from either, of course, right? But like, it's, I don't know, man. No one's really used him, maybe because no one's got him duped out because he's a legendary character. And, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. 20 range is very, very short, actually. I didn't realize that. I mean, he's a tank character, so it doesn't matter. But, yeah, maybe I'll move Greenmore down. I don't know. I'm not really getting too much use out of him. Liz, actually pretty decent. She gets 20% crit chance if she crits, which is very good with Escanor. She's now a lot better with Escanor in the game. And she does have a worse version of Gopher, but you still can get that ultimate or skill reduced cooldown by 2 seconds like Gopher. It's just, you rather use Gopher, right? But, hey, I've used that a few times. Getting that crit chance is not too bad. A bit harder to use because you got a deeper route. But yeah, overall, not the worst character. I don't mind her on my team too much. Diane, I'm actually got a lot of use out of Diane. If anything, I almost want to put in S tier because she's, yeah, very, very good, man. In the Silver Demon right now, she is kind of a key in terms of actually defeating the boss because the boss is immune to most crowd controls, but they're not immune to petrification. So you can petrify, give that 1 or 2 seconds of grace period in terms of your team not getting hit, and Barn can follow up like a big nuke. And since you do load the critical resistance with petrify, it's very, very good. Also usable in the Night boss. Yeah, we love Diane. Don't mind her. Guild Thunder, once again, very similar situation. He gets that buff from, obviously, Arthur, so you can use, like, a full int team. Lowering the critical defense is pretty good to get more damage on the crit. And with Arthur, increasing the crit chance for Barn, yeah, he's kind of getting carried a little bit by Barn, but not as useful as Arthur, but, you know, he's up there a little bit. Jenna right now is not too bad. If anything, people right now, I believe, are only using her in PvP because she does remove buffs, right? And I just talked about before, but characters like Draw and Diane becoming immortal, you can remove those buffs. Having the nullified damage from what's the name? Guildfrost. You can remove that buff as well. You can also remove your Veil buff that you have in your tanks as well. Just a good character to have on your team a little bit. And you're going to get some more accuracy towards your Dex characters. That's her basically only used in the game a little bit. Henriksen, I don't like him too much, but he's a blue character, gets buffed up by King. And most people should get him duped a lot more easier because he is given away for free. Illet is a bit better in the game with obviously melee because you get a 20% crit chance. Very much like obviously Arthur. But the difference is that Arthur's passively, where hers is through the ultimate, so it takes a little bit more requirement to use her. And melee, like I said, it's just not like... I mean, you had him duped out like crazy. You'd probably use him, but he does alright by himself a little bit where, yeah, you know, Bar needs Arthur, where like Illet is like usable, but not like needed. Elaine, I think she's now better a little bit with Escanor in the game. Getting that critical resistance lower isn't too bad. I kind of like it. And then moving on to Grey Road, I think she's very similar towards Elaine, but there's a chance where I think Elaine's every 5 seconds. And then she also lowers critical defense. I think both of them, or at least this skill right here, is usable in the Knighthood boss, so you don't mind it. Vivian, also very good. Bind, lot AoE damage, using the Knighthood boss. Deldry, just a free-to-play version of King, kinda. And she's got big AoE damage, so using Tower Trials. Mod, Tower Trials, decent damage, used in the Knighthood boss, and also pretty good in the actual, even though type disadvantage, still good in the actual gold dungeon farm to do some big AoE damage. Bellion, has a buff remove. You can use them every now and again. Pretty decent DPS for unique characters. And is used in the gold dungeon farm. One of the better characters. I mean, listen, Escanor still carries, but up until Escanor's release, he was doing most of the work a lot of times because that big AoE nuke from his ultimate and buff removing is very good for that game mode. Ren, not the best DPS in terms of red characters, because she does run to the back line and most of the time she dies because of it. But yeah, she's got Infect, usable in the Knighthood boss, and not too bad. I liked her very, very much, especially in the early game. Atra, another good play DPS. Garard, decent healer that doesn't need to use the ultimate. But if you want to use the ultimate, you can use that for the Knighthood boss. Melly, same situation as Bellion. Good AoE farmer, because big AoE damage a little bit. Green character. Weinhardt is actually not that great. If anything, it might move down. But, like, I can't ignore, like, he's just a DPS. Good single target boss damage, I guess. I use them a little bit when progressing through the stages. Arden, same situation a little bit. And then we have Israf and also, I can never pronounce this guy's name. So these two characters are kind of become meta a little bit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't use them too much because if anything, you'd rather use Doggello when it comes towards boss fights in, you know, PvE content. But if you go towards right now in a PvP, this is where they're being used right now. It's kind of a crazy meta where right now everyone's using them. She does knock back, a chance to knock back, but both of these characters have that veil buff, and because of that, they are naturally good. So, if anything, I prefer Doggello because he taunts. Okay, and then moving in towards the B tier, these are characters that have some use, but there are just better characters and better things to be doing. And Jericho, a good buffer. You get the attack buff, the actual swiftness, the attack increase, but her attack speed herself is yeah, so low, bro. Now, it really holds her back. And for a support character to have or to be a frontline character, it's yeah, not great. Because if you look at like King and Goldfar, like, and One Speed, they're support characters that stay in the backline, so they don't really get hit or die, right? Where for her, for example, you have to crit, so you want to get like maybe crit chance potentials a little bit, so she's not as tanky. And yes, 79 attack speed, so low, man. It's yeah, almost tragic a little bit. Hendrickson, not great, but he's got that infect, and because of that, he's used in the actual Knighthood boss, so he's actually got use in the game. Gelda, I have quite a lot to say right with her because I don't know why people use her, or like, maybe I'm sleeping on a lot, but she's not great. Like, for like what we have in the game right now with like healers for, you know, Gloxinia and also, you know, Zenari. Why would you ever use Gelda? Like, her ultimate doesn't cleanse. It just heals. But the heal itself is 504% of attack, where once again, if we go towards Gloxinia, right, this is much higher, like healing in terms of that. Plus, it also cleanses and gives you damage over time immunity if that is helpful. But the best thing is that this doesn't need to successfully attack someone, where Gelda, for example, has to successfully attack someone. So because of that, if she is a bit low dupe level, you got to go towards accuracy. And if you're going towards accuracy, then you can't give a crit chance because this skill wants to crit. And then if you are given a crit chance to make this skill work to get the heal, then you don't have high attack potentials. And if you don't have high attack potentials, then you're not healing as much for your ultimates and your healing abilities because your attack's not scaling as high. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure she'd be alright if she got towards, you know, high dupe level, but there's just no reason to use Gelda in any situation when you can just use Gloxinia and get that crit defense lower, which is so much better. So, yeah, that's kind of why I've Gelda low. We kind of talked about Grimo a little bit. He's, got a Veil on the tier 2 skill, which can be helpful, but I don't see it being too much. Gila, to be fair, I might be sleeping on. I don't have a dupe out. I don't have a 2 use for her, but she's got, I think, good AoE damage, and that's probably it, I think. Manaskula's not great. You get to 10 commandment crit damage, which could be better in the future if we get like Deverary or, you know, Esterosa or Zeldris, but the accuracy buff through the ultimate, not great when Golfer does it passively a little bit. Helbram, I think, would actually be a lot better if he just wasn't blue. If they made him in type or yellow, then it just would have been a lot better. Because you could have used him in a Silver Demon. You still can. The reason why I never used him was because he was just too low dupe level that he probably would have missed anyway. But, you can Petrify. It works in the Silver Demon. He's got a use in the actual Knighthood boss, so you do have to actually invest a little bit in towards him. And then, if you could crit, getting this skill isn't the worst because you can get the evasion down, which means you're more likely not to miss, which is kind of what you want to do. Not every game mode, but in the actual, you know, Silver Demon. Like, he has a use a little bit. So, yeah, in the B tier. Slater, I'm not a big fan of. He's just, just doesn't do much, right? Like, I thought we'd do a lot. Like, this is like a good AoE skill, but maybe because the multiplier is too low. You don't care about low in defense or crit chance. And in this skill, it doesn't crit too often. So maybe you've got a bit more deep tap. And if you've got a blue character that can increase crit chance, which we don't have right now, actually, I don't believe. Maybe it gets a bit better. And then this guy right here, always forget his name, Darrow, I'm going to call him. He has only use in the game is in the actual Knighthood boss. Hellbrum's only use in the game is to get that stun immunity in the Grey Demon. Narrow Bastard's only use in the game is kind of like a 14 team a little bit just to get some good damage. She has got 65 range, so you can use it in the Silver Demon. And other than that, she is used in the Crimson Raven to get the binds, basically, right? And then Jillian is, once again, I think bind 2. She can work in the Silver Demon. Gustav only really used in 14 team if you need to use it somehow. And also the Silver Demon got good range. Olandi, people are now starting to use him in PvP. I'm not entirely too sure why. You do get some heals here, which isn't too bad. You don't do too much here. Range isn't great. I think the evasion is maybe only for this guy right here, because he is in type, so you get more evasion onto him. I mean, that's the only thing I can kind of think of a little bit. And then C tier are just characters that you hardly ever use, but have like Nanashi, I think could have been good in the game if you used him in like the Goblin farm, to kind of what he's used for. But now Escanor in the being game, just there's no reason to use Nanashi. If you get him towards 5-star, sure, but like by that point, you know, you probably already have a decently built up account. Dreyfus, no need. Matrona, I think people were using her, but I don't know if that's because she's a type advantage of tank. I just don't see a use for her a little bit. Same for Denzel. Hendrickson I have no use for. Frauja, maybe you can put up, but when like unique tanks are being better than him, just there's no reason to use him. Ruin, Solad, and also Dale. They're the only usable actual, you know, epic characters. He can buff move if you need it. You are going to get the energy restoration, not as much, but it's 1 if he crits. And also you have that 1 second cooldown for his ultimate. Reduce, obviously, like Gopher, but rather than 2 seconds, it's 1 second. Dale, blue DPS, can be used king. 14 star, whether the highest star in the game is, I think, like 13. He's, he can stun a little bit. It's not the worst. And then these characters, I don't even know what they do. Like, I think he's a tank, you just don't want to use. Accuracy buffer, you don't care. Heals, pump, I don't know what he does. There's no reason to use them, right? 30 range, there's just no reason to use him. Dolores, I think is a healer, but once again, when you have Gloxinia, Zaneri, no reason. And in the D tier, we don't need to talk about because these are relevant. So, yeah, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Once again, let me know if you think I'm rating someone too low or too high. I know there are some Gelder riders, so you might want to go up into A tier a little bit. But considering I don't have a tools like freestyle or how to use other than using her in like AV content, maybe that could push up a little bit. But, you know, she's nothing special. And I think this is a pretty fair tier list. Like I said, most people might go towards other direction and say, hey, Melly's the best red character, so Boomy's an S tier. But yeah, I'm saving my S tier for characters that do a lot for the team while also being very, very good. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.